With PTSD, it can be an emotional roller coaster and an empty emotional space, all in the period of an hour. Like, you can have such an intense emotional reaction to things that have happened to you in the past, and then you can just be completely emotionally numb from the whole experience by dissociating from just the intense stress that it brings you. That's a big emotional reaction, but also physical. I mean, you are experiencing sometimes muscle spasms, you are experiencing sometimes throwing up from the stress, muscle tightness. You're almost like forced to scan the room, look for exits, look for ways out of a situation. It's the most primal form of fight or flight.
How does it affect your relationships with other people?
When you're in a mode like that, it affects your relationships because you are both dissecting how am I going to put myself in their life when I have everything like this going on, and how can I trust that person. My past experiences have created a big distrust when it comes to other people, so it's just how do I fit my life into their life, and how do they fit into my life. It makes it really difficult to trust people and let people in. There are times where I'm just so emotionally overwhelmed where I can't be around people at all. And that could be tough on people who want to be around me. It's definitely a balance between letting people in and being, in it by myself. Because as much as, people who love and care about me want to be there for me, it's such a raw experience that it's not always the best to have them be a part of that, no matter how much they might want to be a part of that. And that hurts me because, of course, I want people to be a part of my life, but it also hurts them because sometimes they feel rejected, even though it's not their fault at all. It's 100% just what I'm experiencing. Considering that PTSD is a disorder, it is by definition something that will stick with you for the rest of your life. I have tried to come to terms with the fact that it's not a death sentence, that it's not something that you have to be completely bound to and a servant to. That gives me hope, knowing that there are resources and that there are ways to improve and not always have like the extremes that PTSD can bring.
You said that there were several major events that have shaped your flashbacks and like what caused your PTSD. Do you want to talk about what those major events were that have shaped your experience?
Yeah. So this is a trigger warning, and I will kind of say this lightly, but the experiences that I went through revolved around my father. He was an emotionally and mentally abusive person, constantly making you not trust your judgment. Is it my fault? Is it his fault? What even just happened? Gaslighting. Is he gonna get better? Is he not gonna get better? He was the type of person who, if he's drowning out in the water, you will want to help him and send a lifeguard out to save him. He'll ask for his family. When his family comes to try and save him, he drags them down with him. It is certainly tragic, but you have to realize that it's not right. There was one moment that really shaped how my PTSD has really grasped onto me. There's one day when my dad was going through his divorce and I was starting to separate myself from him. from his toxicity. He told me that if he couldn't talk to his family, that I will just put it this way, he would do something drastic with a firearm to himself. That really got to me, considering that I'd always tried to help him, and I'd always tried to like work through the ups and downs, even though they were mostly downs with him. It just always seemed like he was trying to chase me down and essentially put me in the same position over and over, where I had his life in my hands. For a kid of an adult who's supposed to be able to take care of himself, that's not a kid's responsibility at all. So yeah, it was really just dealing with the ramifications of someone saying that they would do something to themselves if you didn't help them. Really hurt me. So that off the bat, that didn't make me feel safe. Then I learned what the word gaslighting meant, and that was when I put all the pieces together. That was when I realized everything that he was doing, and that this supposed love that my dad had for me was not the right kind of love that you would want in your life. It really made you realize how unsafe you were in a situation like that. And once that happens, you become very hyper aware of how unsafe other situations can be. And so I think a big component in PTSD is safety, and having your entire worldview be ripped out underneath you and not having a firm ground to like plant your feet on. I think that is the major part of what makes PTSD PTSD. A lot of people refer to veterans as an easy target for developing PTSD, and that's of course true. I think people are more realizing that a lot of people can develop PTSD, and that's just, because your worldview can be ripped out from underneath you. And I think love is a huge part of that. I think love is supposed to be unconditional. It's supposed to be kind. It's supposed to be safe. And I think everybody needs love in their life. And so to have that key component ripped out from underneath you, I don't know, even just as saying it, even just saying stuff like that now, like it almost feels like I'm trying to discount my experience and being like, oh, it's just, there's people who have had it much worse. But I think people really do take for granted how powerful love is and how powerful it can be used to hurt somebody if you manipulate that. So I suppose when I'm starting to have a flashback, it's a very emotional experience. This is when certain thoughts or emotions will begin to intrude in my mind, something that I can't turn off. I wish I could. And it just becomes like a monster in the back of your head, just constantly trying to claw itself at you and grow and grow and grow until it just becomes everything. And you just, in those moments, those intrusive thoughts, you try and escape it, and you can't. When it becomes so intense, I might have another symptom called dissociation. It's when your brain, your emotions just shut off. Like you've had enough. It's just time to go on standby mode, and just life kind of seems I don't want to, I mean, people have described it as like dreamy. I just kind of like look at it as like, yeah, you're taking a backseat in your own life and you're just letting things pass. Things don't really matter all that much. It's nice actually, like to be able to have that. I almost look at it as a tool. It's not like, obviously it can be an unhealthy tool, but if your brain just needs a break from everything, then that's okay to just check out for a second. The only time that it really becomes bad is when it affects your day-to-day life, and like when it stops you from being able to work or even drive. That's happened to me in the past for sure. There's also another symptom to where I was actually stressed out so much that I actually began hallucinating, like physical shadows, playing tricks, voices. It was a really dark time. That was when I really needed to come up with some solid coping strategies. I was submitted into a 2-week program, and that really helped because it was just every day. It was something as simple as just like letting people draw to like keep focus while they were talking about coping strategies, which was like breathing techniques and scanning things across the room. But just being in a steady environment like that, even just like being able to wake up earlier in the morning every single day for a full 2 weeks, and preparing yourself for what life would be like outside of that structure too, was just like immensely helpful. To also help me through my symptoms, I've taken different medications. That has been a pretty big journey for me. I still don't have the right combination, I don't believe, but it has been helpful here and there. I've taken antidepressants, I've taken antipsychotics, some anti-anxiety medication. I've taken several antidepressants. There was one that was really bad. It actually made me much more, I was very depressed off of that, so just be careful of that. Currently, I'm on a medication called escitalopram. I might be changing that. My antipsychotic that I'm using is risperidone, which has helped with potential hallucinations if I still have those or not. I'm not sure. I'm not rolling the dice on that one. And then I do have an anti-anxiety called gabapentin that I will take as is. I might be potentially transitioning to Xanax. I personally am very wary of medication. I'm not someone who is like 100%, yeah, I have this problem, I'm going to solve it with medication. Like I want to solve it with other things as well. And if I could be off of medication completely, I would do that personally. But I also understand that medication can help you make that next step into recovery if that really is something that you need. And like I said, besides medication, I have other steps that I'll take, which would be I do weekly sessions with my counselor. She has helped me process a lot of my past trauma. She has helped give me coping skills and even reminding me of certain coping skills over and over, because sometimes you can forget. Sometimes you just get wrapped up in it and you just forget, oh, well, I can do something as simple as a breathing technique. She has just been an amazing support in general, just to like get stuff off my chest, to be validated for everything that I'm going through, to help answer questions if I have any. So definitely counseling is a huge part of recovery for something like PTSD. Another form of counseling that I'm going to be taking is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, otherwise known as EMDR. This is just a program where you are going back to the core, problematic memories and like processing it while you're like doing these eye movement exercises. And it's supposed to reprogram your brain on your danger senses. When you're scanning the room for danger, well, we're talking about the problems that you were having in the past, and you're just making those brain connections, which, who knows, might be really helpful. There's other forms of coping skills, which is always really, it gives me hope, because there are strategies to be able to do this. So like, for example, breathing techniques, pointing out a color in the room, thinking it in your head over and over and just taking in a deep breath. That's helped me a lot actually in preventing panic attacks from flashbacks. Another one is like if your brain is just having too much, being able to try and turn it off through video games or watching Netflix. That's always helpful too. Like don't discount the power of just turning your brain off. Support from friends and family, like being able to get the validation from them, just talking things through, just having somebody there to just take your mind off of things. I know that sometimes it can be difficult when you're going through things, but if you have a great support system, then definitely utilize that. So yeah, thank you for sticking to the end of the video. I know that it was a lot. If you know anybody who has experienced anything even similar to this, because you know it's all a spectrum. It's not just one thing. Or if you've experienced something like this, then you can feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'm more than willing to hear you. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.